because not only my mom was getting abused, every day my stepfather told me that I would be in jail for the rest of my life. I would never amount to anything.
This is gonna hurt. It's time for the Suffering Podcast. Salvation comes in the strangest of places. When you see no way out and hope is in short supply, gravitation towards the common comfort is the goal. We sink into a place of darkness because that's all we see and that's all we know. When the light starts to shine and we look back at the darkness, we wonder several things. How did we get from there to here? How did I ever think I was stuck in that place? Are there others where I once was? Everything once was thought to be impossible until it was first achieved. Once the threshold was passed and others followed the lead, they walked a road that was charted through a tough education. I'm Kevin Donaldson here with Mike Failace, and on this episode of the Suffering Podcast, we welcome our special guest, Wally Green, to discuss the suffering of a ping-pong pro. Wally has taken this sport and really used it to get out of the darkness. Wally, thank you so much for coming all the way from New York City to join us.
Hey, thank you for having me. Great to be here.
Mike, I met Wally a little while ago, and he's been a godsend to me. Like I look at his TikToks, and I'm in awe of how he does it.
When we started, I still don't have TikTok. You didn't. Now all of a sudden your TikTok's exploding, and it's because of Wally.
Because he gave me the formula. He gave me the secret sauce.
Is that what was on the table? We'll get to that later.
Before we start anything, let's give a big shout out to our marquee sponsor. That's Toyota of Hackensack. We don't trust anybody, but we buy our cars from there because we trust them. So go to toyotahackensack.com. Let them find you a car. So, Wally, you're a city boy out in the suburbs here. You said you like to take adventures, so you're out here on an adventure.
Yeah, for sure. It was a good adventure, though. I got to relax on the bus ride. Although I looked to the left of me to look out the window, and on the chair was an open tampon. Why it was there, I have no idea. Oh, not a tampon, a maxi pad. Was just on the chair, and I took a video of it because that's probably going to be my next post on TikTok. Anyway.
You sure that didn't
New
fall
Jersey
out
buses?
You sure it didn't fall out of your bag? Because I've seen your tripod.
No, it did not.
So for the audience, Wally comes in.
Maybe we could put the tripod on the table before the end of the day. And
so
throw a
for
camera
the
on there.
audience, Wally comes in here, and Wally does a lot of stuff on TikTok. So he carries around a tripod, and he pulls out his tripod, and it's like a 9-inch sex toy. That's pretty much what it looks like. And so I don't know. Maybe it fell out of your car. I don't know.
No, it didn't fall out. It wasn't mine. I just looked and it was there. It was just sitting
No,
there.
you know what happened? There was a girl sitting next to him. She saw the tripod. She took the maxi pad and she said, me and this guy are gonna go at it.
But this episode is actually we're doing something we've never done before, and you're the architect of this.
Pioneer.
Is we are going out over your TikTok live with the Suffering Podcast.
Yeah.
And that's an amazing thing. It's a little daunting. It's a little humbling.
I like it. I think it's fun.
Listen, we've done over 100 shows. We haven't released them all yet. We've never done one live yet, though.
No, this is it. Thank
so
you
you
for.
can't pick your nose today like you usually do.
Yeah,
and they edit that out.
Yeah, usually our producer Andrew in there edits all my fumbles out and everything. So Wally, every week we take a question from our audience. This week's question comes from Linus040. And it says, what keeps you from returning to your dark place? Now, I know throughout your life you've come from some darkness. So how do you stop from going back there?
Wow, man, that's a good question. Man, I think for me, what keeps me from going back to my dark place is looking at all the other kids that's probably were in my situation and just trying to be a role model for them. I need to do better, and I need the only way they can do better is if I'm doing better. So that's what really keeps me from going to the dark place, and what really drives me to just stay good and like that.
Well, you've developed this roadmap, and we're going to get into it on this show. You've developed this roadmap. This very odd road, like I don't even know where to start. This is the oddest. This is the oddest roadmap to get out of a dark place that I've ever heard of. But before we do, Mike, what do you think? What keeps you from going to your dark place?
I generally think it's just the memory. Living through those dark times, you never want to be in that place again. So you just sit back, you suck it up, and you say, I don't want to go back there anymore. That's pretty much, listen, we all revisit our dark place every once in a while.
Yeah.
You know, every couple months you get into that, fall into that rut again, and you stay in that rut for a couple days, and you hate the feeling. So, yeah, I guess the memory and the feeling of being in my dark place, I don't like that.
I have to sit there. Sometimes I get locked inside my own head, and I have to sit there and consciously get myself out. Like, no, you're not there anymore. You're not. I have to do a lot of positive speech for myself. You can't go back there anymore. That's not you anymore. That was you for a short time, and it wasn't a good you. You know, you have the support of your family. You have the love of your family, and you know, I just don't ever want to go back there. Like Mike said, that memory, that's still very fresh in my mind. It wasn't that long ago.
The biggest prison to escape is your own mind.
Yeah.
And that's really what it comes down to. If you get it out of your mind, you know.
You know, that's the hardest person to believe in is yourself.
Yeah.
Like we all believe in certain people around in our circle more than they believe in themselves. But there are times when we don't believe in ourselves. But Wally, I know you grew up in some tough circumstances. So why don't you tell our audience a little bit about yourself?
I grew up in the projects with a stepfather who was a very abusive, narcissistic individual, and I really didn't even understand what narcissism was until recently, until the pandemic, when I was in Clubhouse and going into these mental health rooms and just learning about stuff. But yeah, my stepfather used to beat up my mom like a lot, like almost every day. He used to either choke her, smack her, punch her.
This is in New York?
This is in New York, yeah, in Brooklyn, in the projects, in Marble Projects. And I grew up as a kid just watching this all the time. And, you know, as a kid, you want to protect your mom, but you can't because you're too small or you're going to get beat up too. So the only thing I could do was to console her, right? When she get beat up or she was bloodied, I go and hug her. But then what would happen is that they would go upstairs, do the things that they do, and then I'd be in trouble, right? So I'd be in trouble for consoling my mom. My stepfather would punish me. And that was the cycle. So, and I didn't realize any of this stuff until, like I said, until the pandemic. How narcissists work, and narcissists, they just try to control every aspect of every part of your life. That's why none of my family, and it's crazy because I just came to this. I tell you, this is just recent. I'm learning about this. None of my family has ever been to my house. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, that's weird.
Like my mom's brothers, her sister. My mom has 5 brothers.
Your house right now?
No. In when I was a kid,
when you were a
with
kid,
my mom, no family. My grandmother's never been there. Her brother's never been there. Nobody. And then I learned about the narcissists, and what they do is they alienate the person from the family.
They beat you down physically and mentally.
Yeah.
And separate you and make narcissists want you to feel that you're the only person in their life.
Right.
You know, and that's what they do. They separate you from everything.
But I've recently come to realize that narcissism is a byproduct of trauma.
Right.
So Mike and I say, and this is a recent revelation for me. When I was in my bad place, I had to cave up. I had to protect myself. And the only way you can protect yourself is to try to control everything around you and make it what you need it to be at the particular time. It's a very unhealthy thing.
Right.
But it's a survival mechanism. And I know there's many different types of narcissism, but that was the narcissism that I experienced, that I had. And I really had to just let go.
Right.
Controlling my kids, controlling my wife. It wasn't healthy at all.
You know what I think? I think because my stepfather was illiterate. Like, he couldn't read or write at all. Like, it was really like I never met someone.
Did he work at all or anything? Or?
So here's the thing. He was a master carpenter. He could build anything. It didn't matter, and it would look perfect. And that's how. But my mom, on the other hand, my mom was smart. My mom had the degrees, and I think that maybe I think, like you said, he felt insecure because my mom was really smart. You know, my mom was smarter than him. I always had to, like, he used to like audio equipment and stuff. So I always had to do all the reading to put this stuff together. I'm the one that helped him put everything together because he couldn't read it. But I mean, it was weird because my mom, with her mouth, was very strong. But in reality, she wasn't really strong at all. So
You know, I
it's just
think the
weird.
key thing you said is insecurity. I think narcissism is a byproduct of insecurity.
Yeah.
It's only insecure people that want to put other people down to make themselves look better.
Yeah, and you as a young man, you're learning survival techniques.
Yeah.
You didn't
On the
understand it.
fly.
Yeah, you really didn't understand what you were learning, but kids see that stuff and it imprints on them. And I'm very surprised. You know, you can go one of two ways. It's like having a parent who's a smoker.
Yeah.
All right. So me and my parents were smokers. My brother ran so far away from cigarettes because he didn't want to have anything to do with where I became a smoker. All right. And it took me a long time to quit smoking. So you see people growing up in bad households, and some of them exhibit that. So maybe, not to give any excuse for your stepfather's bad behavior, but I'm sure those insecurities came from somewhere where down the line where he grew up, and that was a survival technique that he learned. I'm not trying to make excuses for him.
No, I
Please
get it.
understand.
I get it. No, I never really looked at it that way because I don't really know his family. I know, like, I remember his brother. Oh, and that's another thing. His family came by.
Yeah.
So, like, his brother, I met his brother, but I don't really know much about his family. All I know is that I grew up wanting to kill this guy. Like, I hated him so badly that we're talking about as old as 7 or 8. I was thinking about how I could put, in the projects, sometimes you have a lot of roaches. And back then, we would use the boric acid. It's like a powder that you put on the corner of the walls to kill the roaches. I was trying to figure out how could I put this in his capsules, in his pills, and let him take it. And this is like 7,
7 years
8
old.
years old. It's crazy.
You're actually thinking realistically, because
Yeah.
kids will say, "God, I wish I'd like to kill him. Or I wish he'd die."
Yeah, I wish he'd die.
But you're actually thinking about
Yeah,
it.
this is what I thought every day. Like every day of my life, I just wanted to kill this guy, and I even thought of the dumbest things. Like when you watch cartoons, you see or stupid movies, you see them put the sock in the muffler. All these things like came through my head.
You watch Roadrunner and you want some like
Drop a boulder on him.
drop a boulder on him.
Yeah, and then I mean the abuse. It was crazy because not only my mom was getting abused. Every day my stepfather told me that I would be in jail for the rest of my life. I would never amount to anything, and not to mention he had another son from my mom. So that made it even worse because his son was like,
The golden child.
golden child.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
And I was like, yeah, it was bad. It was really bad.
And that's because you weren't your blood. So that book right there, 14th and 2nd, was written by a guy, New York guy, Charlie Cifarelli. And his father treated him the same way because, I don't want to spoil it too much, but his father never believed that it was his own son. So that's where his younger brother was treated much better because obviously that was his son. Like he knew it.
Right.
Yeah, so I mean that makes a lot of sense.
Did you get along with your half brother? Did you get along with him? Or? Okay. Next question.
Yeah. So with my half brother, I think I took a lot of what was going on at home on him. So like, cause I was bigger. I was a bigger brother. I remember I threw him off the bunk bed because he pissed me off, and I was like, if you cry, I'm gonna beat the hell out of you. So I took a lot of what his dad was doing to me, I was doing to him.
Yeah.
You're starting to exhibit the same behavior.
Yeah,
You're becoming what you hate.
Becoming a narcissist.
I remember exactly. Like if I broke something, I would tell him he would have to say that he broke it, or else it's gonna be a problem.
It's hard. You often become what you hate.
Yeah.
Now, how did you eventually break that cycle?
Wow, that's the cycle per se, without talking about the ping pong. So what happened is that I hated my stepfather so much. Like I never hated anyone at the level. I mean, even now he's dead, and I still hate him. Like,
Wait until this episode's over.
Yeah.
You're probably gonna hate me and Kevin a lot too. So.
No. I hate him so much that I figured out I never want to be like him. I can't be like the person that I hate so much.
Absolutely.
So that's how I broke the cycle, because I just truly, truly hate this person. I think if you really, truly hate someone, that you're not going to be like that person. Anything that reminds you of that person will just burn your whole soul. So that was the way I was able
But
to break the cycle.
that wasn't you as a 7-year-old.
No.
That is much
This
later
is
in
me
life.
later in life,
Yeah.
yes.
So how bad did it get?
It got really bad. I mean, there was one time where I was actually I got in trouble in school. I got caught with a loaded weapon in school, and
What?
yeah, so I was already at 13. I already owned 6 guns, so I had 6 guns at 13 years old, and 3 were mine, and 3 were from the rest of the gang. So the way that I found solace, whatever you want to call it, was 2 things. One was my gang that I had, and 2 was sports. So it was those 2 things was the way that I was able to
Escape from reality.
from what was going
Yeah,
on.
absolutely.
Right. The gang stuff gave me
Family.
the family plus the violence. Right. The violent part of it would get the anger out. Sports also did that, but it did it in a different way. And I had some problems. I had a lot of problems in school. As a kid, I was arrested a couple of times, and I was always smart, so I never got caught. I was always smart. I was always a smart kid, but I had some huge problems. And
Did any of the teachers ever pick up on this in school? Say, hey, look, there's a problem. Because nowadays, when the kid's acting out, there's a problem at home.
now the teachers were scared to death of me. Like they like, because I mean
They knew you had 6 guns.
Listen, I was the kid. I was a very evil kid. Like you can't believe the level. I remember one time in class, there was a teacher that was pissing me off. And so what I did was I purposely sat. So we had a chair was next to the door. I purposely sat this day at this door. You know what I did? I took out a lighter and I just held the lighter on the door because she's the one that's going to open the door. Oh. And I held the lighter like this, just sat there holding the lighter. And she went and got 3rd-degree burns. So that was the kind of kid I was. So teachers was like, yo, this kid, bro. And yeah,
Yeah, you didn't bring in that boric acid in there.
Yeah. So anyway, I got in some really big trouble, and I was looking at some serious time as a kid. And but as a kid, remember I told you the second part of my life was sports, right? And I loved sports because sports was more of a healthier way to get out of that aggression, right? Like when I went and did gang stuff and stick people up or rob people or fight or whatever, I never felt like, oh man, it was a great day today. I still felt bad. Yeah. I mean, I felt a little bit okay, but I felt bad. When I played sports, I felt like happy and I was so numb and tired that when I went home, it didn't matter. And so in order to stay on the sport team, you got to have good grades, right? So I used to have kids do the work for me. So I had kids like taking my notes, doing the work, and that's what saved me. That's what really saved me because my mom brought up to the judge. I don't know where she got this lawyer from, but she had a good lawyer, and they said, look at his grades. This kid's like almost a straight A student. If we put him in jail for a long time, his life is going to be ruined. So they came up with the great idea that they would send me to Africa to boarding school, which is one of the biggest disasters ever. But yeah.
Why Africa? There's a million boarding schools in the United States.
So because my mom had some African friends, and they said if you send him to Africa, they're gonna whip his ass straight, and that's pretty much what happened. Like I got beat up in school every day.
You cannot meet violence with violence. It doesn't work.
But you know what's funny though? Being the only person by yourself in a place where you have no control, I couldn't do nothing.
You don't have your friends with you.
I tried to fight. Yeah. I just got beat up.
So did you play any football in high school?
I played some football. I played basketball. I played volleyball. I played tennis. I was on a wrestling team.
Because you were like prime build for like a nice cornerback or free safety.
I was going to say corner, wide receiver.
Yeah. I played every sport in school. Any sport that I could get my hands on.
And that was to keep you out of the house too, I guess, too.
Yes.
But there's a difference too. There's a difference. So when you're out there robbing and stealing, but you're saying that you never lost your humanity.
Yeah, like I wasn't the, like, you know what, like the kids today, they're very different than we were when I was a kid. Like I would never shoot someone just on the basis that they looked at me, right? I mean, if I ever had to shoot someone, something serious would have had to happen, right? So I always thought I never, if we jumped somebody, I actually felt bad, right? I actually, like, at the end of the day, I was like, damn, that was pretty messed up. I felt bad, but some people don't feel, they don't feel bad at all.
Yeah.
But
I think that's a
always felt that-
process, though.
Yeah.
I do think it's a process where you lose your humanity.
Right.
And once your humanity is totally out of you, you're lost.
Yeah.
It's hard to bring you back from that.